My dear ladies and gentlemen, there is a presence. Oh yes, there is a presence more precious than life itself. You may not see him with your eyes, but when he moves, oh, when he moves, everything changes. He is the Holy Spirit. He is not an idea. He is not a feeling. He is not a wind, though he comes like one. He is not a dove, though he descended as one. He is a person, the third person of the Trinity. Holy, mighty, gentle, and real, and when the Holy Spirit comes, healing follows. I've seen it, not once, not twice, but over and over again. I've seen the hopeless walk again. I've seen broken hearts mended. I've watched tears of sorrow turn into songs of joy, not by human hands, but by his presence alone. There was a woman once, her body frail, eaten by disease, her strength gone. Doctors had given up, family had wept, the room filled with silence. But one whisper of the Holy Spirit, one moment, and her body began to change. Life entered her bones. She walked out of that room completely restored, not because of a person, not because of a preacher, but because of him. And there was a child, his mind tormented, spirit shattered by trauma. The world didn't know what to do, but the Holy Spirit, he knew. He reached where no therapist could go. He healed what no medicine could touch. And peace like a river washed over that young soul. The Holy Spirit is still healing. He is still restoring, right now, right where you are. Maybe you're sitting in your room, lights off, wondering if your life matters. Maybe your body is aching with pain, or your heart is carrying a grief no one sees. Listen to me. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. The same Holy Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. That same Spirit is with you now. Close your eyes, say nothing, just believe. He knows your pain. He knows the tears you never cried out loud, and he is near to the broken-hearted. Restoration isn't a myth. Healing is not a fantasy. It is his work. It is his joy. It is his ministry. But you must give him room. You must surrender. You must whisper the words, Holy Spirit, I need you. And when you do, oh, dear friend, expect the unexpected, for he comes where he is welcome. He touches what man cannot touch. He mends what time cannot mend, not because you earned it, not because you're perfect, but because he loves you more than you will ever understand. So if you're watching this right now, this is not an accident. This is a moment, a divine appointment. Healing is beginning. Restoration is being released. Because the Holy Spirit has come, let him have his way. And never be the same again. Certainly, below is the ** expansion of Keynote No. One ** in approximately 1,500 words, written in the emotional, reverent, and spirit-led style you requested. The Holy Spirit brings healing beyond human ability. This truth, though simple in words, holds depths that the human mind cannot fully comprehend, and the heart can only begin to grasp. Healing from the Holy Spirit is not a matter of formulas, not bound by medical logic, not limited by diagnosis or prognosis. Where human hands tremble and fall short, where science ends and answers disappear into silence, the Holy Spirit begins to move in unseen, unstoppable ways. There is a realm where the impossible becomes reality, not because of technique or talent, but because of his touch. His healing is not only for the body, but flows through every layer of a person: mind, soul, memory, trauma, thought, and even the shadowed corners of a wounded spirit. And that healing, when it comes, doesn't only restore what was broken, it recreates, it renews. It breathes divine life into places long buried in pain. I have seen the Holy Spirit move where no one expected. In rooms filled with doubt, in hospital wards filled with quiet grief, in homes where prayers had grown cold. He is not limited by atmosphere. He is not confined by the faithlessness of man. He moves where he chooses, and when he does, things change in a moment. There was once a man, his body racked by disease. Years had passed, Treatments had failed, and all that was left were painkillers and whispers of comfort from tired nurses. But one night, in that sterile hospital room, the atmosphere shifted. No one played music, no preacher walked in, but the man felt something, a warmth, a peace, something sacred. Tears began to fall from his eyes, not because of pain, but because the pain had disappeared. What doctors couldn't understand, what medicine hadn't cured, the Holy Spirit healed without effort, without struggle, without sound. That is the power of His presence. It is not loud, but it is strong. It does not demand attention, but it commands reality to obey. For the Holy Spirit is not bound by time or process. He is eternal, and when He chooses to bring healing, He doesn't require permission from the laws of biology. And yet, His healing is not always what we expect. Sometimes the greatest healing comes not in the bones that are mended, but in the bitterness that is broken. The Holy Spirit reaches deep into the places where anger lives, where betrayal lingers, where the soul has stopped trusting. He heals the unseen injuries, the wounds of childhood, the griefs buried under smiles, the silent ache of being forgotten. He brings peace where the mind is in torment. He brings clarity where confusion has reigned for years. That is healing beyond human ability. A woman once stood in a prayer meeting, unable to lift her head. Her heart was crushed by years of guilt, shame, and rejection. No medicine existed for the sickness in her soul. But as people began to worship, not even praying for her directly, she felt the love of God wrap around her. Like oil poured over dry soil, something began to soften inside. She began to weep, not in sadness, but in release. Chains invisible to the eye fell to the ground, and she walked out of that place lighter, freer, healed. Not one hand touched her, only the Spirit of the living God. This is why the Holy Spirit must be welcomed. He will not push past our pride. He will not storm into our chaos. He waits for surrender, but once He is given space, His power is without rival. No therapist can reach where He can reach. No drug can do what He can do. And no person, no matter how wise or compassionate, can go as deep as He can into the root of our pain. People often think of healing only in terms of limbs straightened or tumors removed, and while those are real and glorious, there is another kind of healing that only heaven understands. The healing of trust, the healing of self-worth, the healing of faith that once was lost. The Holy Spirit specializes in these. He doesn't just fix things. He transforms them. He doesn't just mend a wound. He creates new life in the place of death. There are testimonies that defy explanation. Children who could not speak suddenly forming words. Deaf ears opening in silence. People crippled by emotional trauma suddenly standing with courage and clarity. These are not tricks. They are not illusions. They are the fingerprints of the Spirit who hovers over chaos and calls forth order. They are proof that healing is not about what we can achieve, but about what we are willing to believe. And belief, true belief, must be birthed in surrender. The Holy Spirit does not move according to ritual. He is not impressed by performance. He is moved by humility, by hunger, by hearts that cry out, "I can't do this on my own." It is in that moment, that sacred moment of honesty, that He descends with power that no surgeon can match, with wisdom no professor can teach, and with love that no counselor can explain. There was a man whose back had been broken in a fall. Decades passed, and even though his body learned to adjust, the pain never left. The doctors did all they could. He tried every therapy, but then one night in worship, no spotlight on him, no special attention. He felt fire run up his spine. Not the kind that burns in pain, but the kind that heals. And in a moment, the pain that had followed him like a shadow vanished. He stood, he walked, he wept. No one could take the credit, only the Holy Spirit. And there are times when the healing is slow, like the dawn, gradual, gentle, Layer by layer, the Spirit removes the scars. Day by day, He renews the joy. Moment by moment, He restores hope. Even when it doesn't happen instantly, the Holy Spirit is always working, always mending, always pouring His life into our weakness. There's a sacred silence that comes when people begin to realize the reality of His presence. Not a silence of emptiness, but a silence full of awe. That's when healing begins, not because someone prayed the perfect prayer, but because the heart opened wide enough for heaven to move. You see, human ability runs out, it hits walls, it finds limits. But the Spirit knows no limits. His healing is as infinite as He is, and His compassion reaches further than our pain. There is no sickness too great, no trauma too deep, no loss too final. The Holy Spirit is not intimidated by the size of our wounds. He is drawn to them because where we are weakest, He is strongest. This is not emotion. This is not fantasy. This is reality for those who yield, and those who have tasted it. Those who have known the Holy Spirit's healing touch never forget it. They walk with a quiet confidence. They speak with a depth the world cannot copy. They carry peace like a fragrance, not because they are special, but because they've been touched by someone who is. This is healing that bypasses intellect, healing that confounds professionals, healing that cannot be explained, only experienced. It's not because we earn it. It's not because we deserve it. It's because the Holy Spirit loves to heal. It is His joy. It is His ministry. It is the evidence of His goodness and His desire to see us whole again. When people think it's too late, the Holy Spirit says, now is the time. When voices say it can't be done, He whispers, watch me. When even faith itself has run dry, He comes and plants new seeds in the soil of our broken hearts. He does what no one else can do, not because we shouted loud enough, but because He is who He is. Restoration begins with surrender and invitation. The deep work of healing that the Holy Spirit longs to do cannot begin unless the heart opens, not partially, not with conditions, but with complete, trembling, trusting surrender. This surrender is not a sign of weakness. It is the doorway to divine restoration. It is the place where self-effort ends and the Spirit's power begins to move. So many hold on to brokenness because it has become familiar. Pain, while agonizing, can become a strange comfort, a routine we adapt to. And yet the Holy Spirit waits, gentle, never forceful, until we let go. He never enters uninvited. His love is powerful, but His approach is soft. He waits for invitation. He waits for surrender. Restoration doesn't come through striving. It comes through yielding. The Holy Spirit is not impressed by performance or religious discipline if the heart remains closed. He looks for vulnerability, for openness, for the soul that cries out, I cannot fix myself, I need you. That cry, though simple, breaks chains. It releases the Spirit to move as He desires. In the act of surrender, something sacred takes place. The Holy Spirit begins to rearrange what has been disordered. He speaks to the places we've kept hidden. He shines light into our darkness, not to shame us, but to heal us. When we invite Him, He enters fully, not partially, not cautiously. He brings the fullness of God into the depths of our being. There was a man once who carried anger like a shield. Betrayed by those he trusted, wounded by the church, he had built walls so high no one could see in. But in a moment of desperation, he whispered a prayer, or, broken, unpolished, if you're real, help me. That was all. That was enough. The Holy Spirit came like a whisper and then like a wave, and in the days that followed, his heart began to soften. The bitterness began to break. Restoration had begun. This is what the Holy Spirit does. He doesn't just restore what was taken. He makes it new, but it starts with surrender. It starts when we stop fighting, when we lay down our weapons, when we stop trying to fix ourselves and instead invite Him to do what only He can do. Some people wait for a perfect moment. They think they must clean themselves up before they can invite the Spirit in. But that is not how he works. He comes into the mess. He steps into the chaos. His presence does not require perfection. It creates it. When we say, "Come, Holy Spirit," we're not asking him to witness our best version. We're asking him to heal us at our worst. And that invitation, when it's sincere, moves heaven. It opens a door that cannot be closed. The Holy Spirit doesn't come halfway. When we surrender fully, he restores fully. He brings back joy we thought we had lost. He rebuilds trust that had been shattered. He returns dreams that had been buried. He takes the ruins and makes them beautiful again. Certainly, here's the *** expansion of Keynote No. 3** in approximately 1,500 words, written in the same emotional and reverent tone. His presence transforms brokenness into wholeness. There is no wound so deep, no fracture so wide, no sorrow so heavy that it cannot be met and changed by the presence of the Holy Spirit. It is not knowledge alone, not advice, not well-meaning words from others that restores the shattered soul. It is presence, his presence, the presence that hovered over the deep when the earth was formless, the presence that filled the upper room like a rushing wind, the presence that touches what human love cannot reach. Brokenness is not just about tragedy. It is the quiet ache of living with something missing. It is the silence that follows betrayal, the numbness that comes from disappointment, the shame that clings to mistakes, the tiredness of pretending to be strong. It is in these moments, often unseen by others, that the Holy Spirit steps in, not as a distant force, but as an intimate friend, a comforter, a restorer of all things. There is a story in every heart, and many of those stories carry scars. Some hide them well, others wear them on their face, but the Holy Spirit sees them all, and not only does he see them, he is moved by them. He draws near to those who are broken, not to examine their damage, but to transform it. He does not ask them to explain their pain. He already knows, and still he comes. His presence does not fix us in the way people expect. He does something deeper. He makes us whole. Wholeness is not the absence of pain, but the fullness of peace. It is the ability to stand in the middle of chaos and remain anchored. It is to walk through grief and still carry joy. It is to face wounds and know that they no longer define you. That is what his presence brings. There was a woman who had been through a lifetime of rejection. Her heart had grown calloused, her voice hollow. She came to a gathering, not because she believed, but because she was too tired to argue anymore. In the middle of quiet worship, something changed. No one touched her. No one knew her story, but the Spirit of God fell upon her like warm oil. She trembled. Tears fell, not tears of pain, but tears of healing. In that moment she felt known. For the first time she felt safe, and in that safety her brokenness began to fade. His presence made her whole. This is how he works, not through pressure, not through control, but through presence. Where people push, the Spirit waits. Where voices shout, he whispers. Where hearts are closed, he knocks gently. And when the door opens even a little, he comes in with light so soft and power so real that nothing remains the same. Some think wholeness comes from time, but time alone does not heal. Time numbs, time distracts, but the Spirit heals because he touches eternity. He does not wait for our wounds to fade. He walks into them. He speaks truth into lies we believed for years. He rewrites our story not by erasing the past, but by redeeming it. That's transformation. There was a man once who had lost everything: his career, his reputation, his sense of worth. He sat in silence for weeks, refusing to pray, convinced he was disqualified from God's love. But one morning, without music, without a sermon, just sitting alone, the atmosphere shifted. He felt something wrap around him, not guilt, not judgment, but love. Real, overwhelming, unconditional love. That moment became his turning point. His life didn't become perfect overnight, but his soul did. The cracks were still visible, but the glory of God began to shine through them. This is what the presence of the Holy Spirit does. There are moments when people experience Him and don't even have words. They try to describe what they felt, but language fails. Because how do you explain the feeling of peace that silences fear? How do you describe the sensation of weight being lifted from your chest? How do you put into words the moment when shame lets go of your name? You can't. You just know something changed. You just know you're not who you were 5 minutes ago. That is the mark of transformation. That is the result of presence, and it's available, not just to the spiritual, not just to the mature, not just to those who have earned it. His presence is not a reward, it is a promise. It is for the weary, the searching, the ashamed, the skeptical, the forgotten. He comes for the ones who don't know what to pray. He comes for the ones who have run from God for years. And when He comes, He doesn't demand explanations. He simply says, I am here. In His presence, you don't have to perform. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to be anything but honest. That's where transformation begins, with raw, trembling honesty. With the words, I don't know what to do anymore. That's where He moves. That's when He wraps His arms around the mess and breathes life into it. Some walk through life carrying the damage of things they never speak about. They function, they smile, they succeed, but inside something is missing. They've buried their pain so deep they don't even feel it anymore. But the Holy Spirit knows. And when they open their heart, even just a crack, He moves like water into the driest places. He reaches memories long buried. He heals identities that were shattered. He calls the soul back to life. The presence of the Holy Spirit is not a fleeting emotion. It is not a temporary high. It is not reserved for the few. It is the atmosphere of heaven, and it comes with Him. It brings clarity where there was confusion. It brings warmth where there was coldness. It brings softness where there was hardness. And in that shift, brokenness begins to bow. Even our deepest failures are no match for His presence. The Spirit does not flinch at our shame. He does not step back when we confess our worst. He moves closer. He redeems what others would discard. He rebuilds what others would abandon, and in doing so, He makes us whole, not fixed whole, not perfect, whole, complete in Him. He transforms not just individuals, but generations. One touch of His presence in the heart of a parent can heal the wounds passed down to children. One encounter with the Spirit can break cycles of fear, addiction, hatred, and hopelessness, because His presence does not only restore the person, it restores the legacy. It restores what the enemy tried to destroy through bloodlines, through choices, through time. And He is never in a hurry. The Holy Spirit does not rush the process. He walks with us, step by step, moment by moment. He restores with gentleness. He lifts us, not yanks us. He whispers truth, not accusations. He brings conviction, not condemnation. That is how we become whole, not through fear, but through love. There was a teenager drowning in anxiety, crippled by self-doubt. Every morning felt like a mountain. But one night, lying awake, she whispered into the dark, God, I don't think you hear me. What she didn't realize is that He had already heard every silent cry. That night, her room was filled with a peace she could not explain. She felt a weight leave her chest. She felt loved. And that night, though nothing outside had changed, she had. Her brokenness had met His presence. This is the quiet miracle happening across the world. In secret places, in homes, in bedrooms, in hearts, the Holy Spirit, moving like wind, invisible yet undeniable, transforming brokenness into wholeness. He is not loud, but His impact is eternal. He does not come with fanfare, but when He comes, lives are changed. And he is here, now, always, waiting for the heart that dares to believe that transformation is possible, that wholeness is real, that brokenness is not the final story. For where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is not only freedom. There is restoration, there is joy, there is life, and there is wholeness.